Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam, sir.
Okay.
Waalaikumsalam, sir.
Waalaikumsalam, sir.
Okay. So, Alhamdulillah, today we will continue our discussion. Okay. Today, inshallah, we continue our discussion on emerging issues. Okay. On emerging issues. Okay. So, I think I have on Monday uploaded the slide. That slide is basically provided by the textbook for free textbooks. Okay, so as what I have basically mentioned to you, I will basically be focusing on three emerging issues. Okay, three emerging issues. Of course, on Monday I have discussed one. Okay, so one of the emerging issues is about sustainability reporting. If you read through the slides, you could also find out that actually sustainability reporting is also an effect from integrated reporting. Okay, integrated reporting. And I think if you have also heard about corporate social reporting, okay, I think if you look into the literature, actually social reporting is not something which is new. It's already there in the literature, but only lately scholars have highlighted again the importance of effects of business activities or business organization toward the society. Okay, so but I think how you view the development is corporate social reporting is very specific to just social aspect. When you look into sustainability issues, it's much more broader. Okay, as what we have discussed in the previous class, where there are an aspect, of course, one aspect is social. There is also aspect of environment, and there is also an effects of economics of the stakeholders of any business organizations. Okay, so that is basically one aspect of sustainability. That is actually one issue, one emerging issue in financial accounting and reporting. Okay. Just go straight to the discussion. So if you have any question, you can ask toward the end of the classes. Then the chapter also highlighted emerging issue in non-profit organization. So inshallah, I will basically discuss that issue. Okay. The chapter also highlighted emerging issue related to Islamic financial institution, particularly with regards to Islamic bank. I think toward the end of the chapter also briefly highlighted issue related to XBRL. I purposely does not want to discuss that because that is much more related toward I think now we call ADAIS, or previously we call accounting information systems. Okay, so I just focus on three emerging issues: sustainability reporting, financial reporting by non-profit organization, and finally some recent development related to reporting in Islamic financial institutions. I think you can refer to your own slide. And today, just I think half an hour before the class, I have basically upload an additional slide because I think it would be good for me to also share what is our current finding, because a group of lecturers from IIUM, Department of Accounting, we also have been doing research related to Zakat, Wakaf, and also Baitul Mal for the last 4 years. And we have we can basically consider that this State Islamic Religious Council is a non-profit organization. So I'm basically just sharing one issue which we think is very important for the State Islamic Religious Council to improve the quality of their financial statement. Okay, I think I don't want to disturb my screen at the moment. You can you can always refer to your slide. I will just sum up what is the main issue um, related to financial reporting in non-profit organization. I think if I want to sum up issues of financial accounting and reporting in non-profit organization, is basically they don't have a clear guideline in terms of accounting rules and regulation in preparing the financial statement. I think that is why we are involved in this research have been appointed by Jabatan Accountant Negara Malaysia. 3 universities is actually involved, UKM, UUM, and also IIUM, because we think now it is a good time where we need to basically help a State Islamic Religious Council in preparing a good financial statement. I think before this, you might have heard a lot of complaint about financial statement by State Islamic Religious Council. Okay. For example, if you want to do research, you ask about their annual report. You might find out that a few years annual report might have not been updated, or might have not been prepared, or might not have been audited. Okay, by audit negara or Jabatan Audit Negara. Okay, so there are labs behind. Okay, there are labs behind, so you will not get a recent information with regard to the activities of State Islamic Religious Council. However, of course, their important now is more have been seen by the public, because I think the activities related to Zakat, Wakaf, Baitul Mal now have gained importance, particularly with regard to Zakat, where every year Zakat collection have basically been increased. Okay, so when the Zakat collection have increased, okay, so of course there are huge amount of Zakat need to be distributed. The same now, if you look into Wakaf, I think there are many discussion related to Wakaf, or important on Wakaf have also been highlighted. So that's why they need to have a good proper recording. So the main issue with regard to non-profit organization, I just sum up. There are only 3 slides provided by the books. The main issue is they don't have a clear accounting guideline in the preparation of their financial statements. Okay. So if you look into the Company Acts, okay, for example, Company Acts says, of course, Companies Act is basically for companies, for profit-oriented, okay, institution. In Companies Act, they says that companies should only use, okay, companies should only use the standard which is approved by Malaysian Accounting Standard Board. Okay, so if which is MASB, if it looks into the rules and regulation of MASB, there are only 2 accounting standards which have been approved. Okay, one is what we call MFRS, the other one is what we call MPAS. Okay, which is an accounting standard for non-listed companies, or what we call private entities, or sometimes we call small and medium enterprises. For government agencies, okay, now government also in the transitions. I think when you learn about accounting in government, we might be talking about cash or modified cash basis. But now government is basically in the transition. They are also following the step of companies where they will be using accrual accounting, and they have been adopting IPSAS, okay, or International Public Sector Accounting Standard, to be used in the government sectors for the preparation of the financial statement. Other than that, we don't have any further comprehensive accounting standard. So I can say we have three main comprehensive standard in Malaysia: MFRS, MPERS, but both are profit oriented. Okay. Then we have MPSAS. Okay. This is particularly with regards to government. Okay. Government might have similarity toward non-profit orientation because government is also not on profit orientation. Okay. Of course, we have some company created. Okay, so companies, if they are created, they need to follow. If they are listed, MFRS. If they're not listed, they need to use MPERS. But government, in its nature, is not a profit-oriented organization. So that's why when Jabatan Accountant Negara embarked on this research of trying to develop accounting standard for State Islamic Religious Council, they start by looking into the reference of MPSAS. But of course, we understand that there might be certain loophole in MPSAS because now we are talking about Islamic institution, the State Islamic Religious Council. Although government is not on the profit motive, okay, but when we talk about some agencies like State Islamic Religious Council, we are talking about a specific fund like Zakat, Wakaf, and also Baitul Mal. So of course we need to improve further. Although that we start off by referring to MPSAS, MPSAS might not be 100% suited, okay, to be used by State Islamic Religious Council. So this might be one of the issue faced by non-profit organization because they are not really sure which accounting standard to be used. So if I just would like to share the experiences of State Islamic Religious Council, okay, among the ruling which they use, accounting ruling which they use, there is one accounting ruling or guideline developed by Jabatan Audit Negara, which is called the best practices for State Islamic Religious Council. They're using that, okay? But then after a certain period of time, Jabatan Audit Negara changed their mind and they asked, okay, and they asked State Islamic Religious Council to use MPERS, okay, MPERS. And again, they found out that this is not really suitable to be used by State Islamic Religious Council. And some of the State Islamic Religious Council use a certain guideline by Badan Berkanun, okay, in terms of preparation of their financial statement. Until in 1996, Jabatan Accountant Negara says we need to have a specific accounting standard for State Islamic Religious Council. This is mainly the issue, okay, related to non-profit organization. They have no specific accounting rulings or guidelines. Okay, I think I can share my own experience again. I supervised one of the student, PhD student, doing research in the Indonesian environment. You can search about this organization which is called Baitul Mal wa Tamwil. This is much more like a small financial institution. The main agenda of small financial institution is actually to help the poor and the needy in basically generating income. Okay, so there are thousands of what we call BMT. Okay, Baitul Mal wa Tamwil. Okay, the main idea is to help poor and needy people with financing. Okay, with financing, for example, to do their small businesses. Again, the main issue here when this PhD student first proposed, okay, she have already completed. When she first proposed, is basically they don't have the guideline. Okay, they don't have the accounting guideline how to prepare financial statement. Because of that, some of BMT does not prepare a financial statement at all. Sometimes the government says use this the standard for Islamic bank, but they are not Islamic bank, big Islamic bank. Their main activities actually to help the poor and needy. Okay, and they get fund from various sources like zakat, wakaf, and so on, how would they prepare their financial statement for their stakeholders? So this is the main issue for the non-profit organizations. So now let's me just share in a bit more detail one of the issue which we have basically raised in our report to Jabatan Accountant Negara in order to improve the quality of the financial statement related to financial statement on zakat. We says the zakat authority should prepare one additional statement which we call I just call it in Malay lah because all our report to Jabatan Accountant Negara is actually in Malay. We call penyata aset kelolaan zakat. If I want to translate in English, it might be a statement of zakat whatever managed asset. Okay, zakat managed asset or something like that. Or okay, so I will just share you this one issue. Actually, there are many issues, but this is just to illustrate in further detail how we can basically help with a better preparation by zakat authorities about how they have managed the zakat money or zakat fund. Let me just share you this slide. I think this is the new slide which I have. Okay, I have not sharing any slide at the moment. Now I'm sharing. Okay, because you, if you look into the slides, okay, if you look into the slide provided by the books, there are only 3 slides on emerging issues in non-profit organization. Which slide is from chapter 13? I have basically uploaded it on Monday. Okay. Now this is a new slide. Okay. How do I go to my slide? Sorry. I think this is here. Okay. Which one I should basically go? This is screenshot. Anybody help me now? How do I go to PowerPoint? My PowerPoint is no file available. Is
Have
it
you
the one?
tried like opening the PowerPoint first?
Okay, wait. Is this the one? Okay, this is the one. Can you see now? Okay, can you see the slide?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. So this is a slide. I call is a simulation because we're actually providing some simulation because this might be something which is new, not something which is totally new. Indonesia under what they call Basnas, BAZNAS, okay, Badan Zakat Nasional Indonesia. They have basically suggest this, but I think that we should improve further. Okay, from what has been suggested by Badan Zakat Nasional Indonesia. Okay, that will be much better. Okay, so just to give you some initial idea, what is this productive zakat distribution? Okay, so now when you talk about zakat money distributed to asnaf, those in my zakat class might be able to understand it easier. So when we distribute zakat money to asnaf, it can be in the form of what we call, this is the term which is used by scholar, either consumptive, okay, consumptive zakat distribution. The second category is what we call productive zakat distribution. Consumptive, if you understand the word consume, okay, so this is the zakat money which is given to asnaf for an immediate consumption by asnaf. Okay, for example, you might be given a cash to asnaf, so with this cash asnaf can go and buy their necessities, or you can give something in kind. Okay, for example, like clothes or food, but once the asnaf receive this clothes or food, they will basically immediately consume it. Okay, so this is something which have been happen for a long period of time. Okay. However, of course, with more zakat money collected, okay, changing in the nature of the environment, you might find out that if you look into zakat authority scheme in zakat distribution, there are few new innovative way of how zakat authorities provided zakat money to asnaf. Okay. If you want to look into zakat literature, you can see into discussion of zakat investment. Okay, zakat investment. You can also look into discussion by Yusuf Kardawi, where many of the scholars now says that rather than give money for immediate consumption, you should basically providing a tool. Okay, you should be basically providing a tool to asnaf in order for them to be able to generate by themselves income. Okay, and later on they might not be asnaf anymore. Later on they will become zakat payer. Okay, this is what we call productive. Okay. So providing tool for asnaf for them to generate income will fall under productive zakat distribution because you want asnaf to actively involve, okay, in generating their own income. Some other mean of productive zakat distribution is sometimes zakat authorities construct or purchase, okay, for example, certain long-term asset. Okay, this long-term asset which have been constructed or purchased by zakat authorities is basically to provide benefit over a longer period of time. Okay, if for example, I think Mawib, for example, if you have go along the road near Taman Koperasi Polis, if I'm not mistaken, or near area of Batu where you will find one building called Darul Hidayah. This is owned by Mawib or Majlis Agama Islam Wilayah Persekutuan, and they have constructed this, okay, for the benefit of muallaf. Okay, because we understand that some muallaf sometimes have been left out by their own family because they are converted to Islam. So in order to provide an appropriate shelter, they can basically stay in Darul Hidayah. Okay. So that is what we call productive zakat distribution, or now you can also see some food trucks. Okay, food trucks. Or I think I usually use the word food truck. Suddenly, some English lecturers or English my proofread, they said we should not use the term food truck. We should use the term food lorries, whatever. But I think when you look into Lembaga Zakat Selangor, they have been providing food trucks or food lorries for asnaf in order for them to do their business. This is a long-term asset. Okay, this is a long-term asset. The problem with regard to this zakat distribution, the current practices of zakat authority in Malaysia is to always expand off all zakat distribution, regardless of whether it is a consumptive or productive zakat distribution. That means when you look into how they put an accounting treatment, it is always debit, yeah, debit zakat distribution or what, zakat distribution or zakat expenses. This will appear in penyata income and expenditure, okay, income and expenditure, and then credit cash. Doesn't matter whether it is consumptive or productive, they always expand off. What is the problem? If you expand off productive zakat distribution, what do you think is a problem? Now, all zakat distribution, whether it is consumptive or productive, is always debit. Okay, debit expense, credit cash. What will be the problem if it is with regard to productive zakat distribution? Any view? What do you think will be the problem? Are you still with me? Or
Yes.
I'm talking just alone? what do you think is a problem? If you just spend off all zakat distribution,
Cannot measure the performance of the zakat give to the like the effectiveness.
yeah, of course, cannot measure performance or effectiveness of zakat authority because the more detailed issue is you are using zakat money to construct, for example, like Darul Hidayah. If you are spend off all this money which you use to construct Darul Hidayah, would you be seeing any asset in the statement of financial statement related to Darul Hidayah? You will not see, correct? You will not see any asset which will be stated in the statement of financial position because all money which you have used to construct that building will go into your P&L. Okay, because you have spent it off. You have not capitalized it. So people will query, you have a building, but it does not appear in your statement of your financial position. Okay, so this is, we think as a researcher, we think is something which need to be improved. Okay, because when we review all their financial statement, they have building which they construct using zakat money. But since the policy of zakat authority, when you distribute zakat money, you will need to expend off. You have that building, but it does not appear in your statement of financial position or what you call balance sheet. So this is a problem. Okay, so this is basically a problem. That's why we are basically saying that if it is related to a long-term asset, you should have capitalizing it and show how the manfaat, okay, the manfaat related to the zakat money have been distributed over a longer period of time. Are you okay? Can you understand this? Are you
Yes.
following me? Are you
Yes,
following
yes,
me?
yes.
This is one issue. Actually, there is also one issue, but this is related to wakaf. But I don't want to actually share too much. I will just share one. The other issue is also about wakaf asset. Okay, so a state Islamic Religious Council always receive asset as a wakaf, like land, for example. People want to wakaf their land, okay, they give it to majlis because in Malaysia the only sole authority which is allowed to receive wakaf asset is only there's no other institution, is only state Islamic Religious Council. It's basically stated clearly in the state enactment. So when the state or the Islamic Religious Council receive wakaf asset, okay, receive wakaf asset, what is their entry? What is their entry in the statement of financial position or the balance sheet or what or their financial statement? Can you think when they receive wakaf asset, what would be the entry in the accounting treatment? Anybody want to try? So, for example, I have a land, I want to wakaf it to State Islamic Religious Council. So, when the State Islamic Religious Council of Selangor receive that land, what will be their entry? Emily want to try? Anybody? Or 5:30 is not a good time to have a class?
Debit asset, sir.
Ah,
Debit asset.
debit asset, credit,
Credit equity.
credit equity, credit equity. Almost close, but the almost close. But I think our research team says that we should credit what we call dana or fund. Actually, we have introduced because in accounting there is one concept of fund. Okay, so we are talking about a fund. Zakat, wakaf is all about fund. Of course, we try to avoid the word equity because equity is commonly used in profit organization. So in a non-profit organization, we always says a fund. Okay, but fine, but that should be an entry. But do you know what is the practice of State Islamic Religious Council, they have not recorded it in their financial statement. They only have a book, okay, like a register, put it into a register, but when they report their financial statement, you will not be able to see wakaf assets. There is no wakaf asset. There will be only in the notes, okay, in the notes. Do you know what is among the reasons said by State Islamic Religious Council why they don't record it in their financial statement? What would be their reasoning?
They do not own the wakaf asset.
Huh? What?
They did not own the wakaf asset.
Correct. That is also a common reason. They say it is only asset under trust. Okay? Asset under trust. The real owner of wakaf asset is who? Allah, correct? It's belong to Allah. So we don't own that asset. We're only a trustee. Okay? A trustee. Of course, I will respond, yes, you are a trustee. But in this world, who will be responsible for the managing of that wakaf asset? You. Okay? The State Islamic Religious Council. Okay? Even if they record it, you might find some haven't recorded. They will always record it at the nominal value, which is RM1. Do you think that is beneficial? Wakaf asset value dia semua RM1. Okay, RM1 because that is their argument. Of course, they don't own, correct, to a certain extent, but as when you do a communication, okay, between man to man, of course that is under our tawhid, okay, tawhidic principle. For example, of course, we have relationship to Allah. We also have relationship between the human being. Okay, so when stakeholders see no record with regard to wakaf asset, of course that will bring confusion. You receive wakaf asset, but when you report, you does not report about how you manage that wakaf asset. Even if you record it a nominal value of RM1. Would that be beneficial, okay, to the stakeholder when they read that the value of the wakaf asset is only RM1? So of course there is a lot of issue, okay, but similar issue. But of course I don't want to basically go further because I just want to complete my illustration here. Okay. So now actually what we have suggested is when this regard to a long-term asset which can give a longer benefit to asnaf, you should have capitalized. So we do some simulation. Okay. So this is among possible way how productive zakat distribution been made by zakat authority. For example, the state might purchase 50 unit of sewing machine. Sewing machine usually might be given to a single mother who know how to sewing clothes. They can basically run a small businesses of sewing clothes, okay, and they can basically generate income, okay. So they buy in order to have single mother or any asnaf, female asnaf, not necessarily single mother, okay. They can help them with this sewing machine. There are many type of this kind of tool or machine provided. In Terengganu, for example, the Zakat Authority provided the engine for the boats in order for them better engines so they can basically go and catch fishes better. Okay, for example. So that's one. The second one, I have basically tell you, for example, like a food truck or food van or whatever we call food lorries. So you can give this, and you can have a policy that for every asnaf you give 3 years. Okay, they have a right to use 3 years, then you can give it to another asnaf. Maintenance, State Islamic Religious Council will basically maintain. Okay, then this is like Darul Hidayah. You construct 100-room building, cost is 5 million, and this can give 20 years or 30 years of benefit for asnaf. Okay. The other information like current rental is 200 per room per month. Okay. Occupancy rate is 70%. Okay. monthly maintenance is 2,000. This information to be used in estimating how much manfaat, zakat manfaat or zakat benefit which has been contributed by the state authorities to the asnaf mu'allaf. Okay. Last but not least is, for example, you might also purchase a building using zakat money for orphans. Okay. Orphan from the poor and needy family. Okay. So you buy it at 500,000. Of course, this need to be appear, yeah, as an asset in the balance sheet of the State Islamic Religious Council. So what we have basically proposed is, in addition to the normal financial statement like balance sheet or income and expenditure or cash flow statement, they should basically have this kind of statement. This is what we call in actually in Malay is more clear. I'm not sure what to call in English. This is what we says penyata perubahan aset kelelaan zakat, which mean that asset zakat which is managed by State Islamic Religious Council. But you can only see 3 items here because you on in illustration, in simulation we say 4, but the sewing machine, whenever we give, usually when we give sewing machine to asnaf, we give with the ownership. Okay, with the ownership. There is a long discussion here. If you give it with ownership, then we believe that you can just spend off. Okay, the zakat distribution. But for other asset which can provide zakat benefit to asnaf for a longer period, like food truck, okay, building for mu'allaf and building for orphan, okay. This one we need to record in the balance sheet, and we need to do an estimation of agihan or distribution of zakat manfaat every year, okay. For food truck and bangunan anak yatim or orphan, building for the orphan, I think our similar concept of depreciation based on the useful life can be used. Okay, but for building for mu'allaf, you might use other method rather than a simple straight line method of depreciation in order to estimate a more accurate distribution of zakat, manfaat zakat for the asnaf. This is what I mean. Okay, something which can basically improve without guideline from specific authorities. Then the State Islamic Religious Council will not be clear how to prepare their financial statement, which is informative to their stakeholders. So this is just one issue. Okay, this is just one issue which I can deduct from our research. There are there are many other, actually there are many other issues. Okay, if you have an interest, you can read. There are many report which we have prepared for Jabatan Accountant Negara Malaysia. So this is an example of an issue where there is not enough and sufficient accounting guideline for the non-profit organization in preparing a quality financial statement. Okay, in preparing quality financial statement about their activities. I stop here for a while. If you have any question, I'm not sure whether you can really follow the discussion. Is that okay?
Sir,
You
I
can
got one
follow.
question.
Yeah, one question. Yep. Yeah.
Why the Zakat institution, why don't they register under CLBG like a normal yayasan would do, a standard practice like any normal yayasan would do?
Normal yayasan, I'm not sure. Because if it is yayasan, you have any idea when they prepare their financial statement, they are using which accounting guideline?
If they are a company limited by guarantee, then I think it should be by MFRS lah. So
Yeah.
for yayasan kan, so why don't like this Zakat institution like follow this model?
Okay.
Why don't they?
Okay, I need to dig further. What you have said, like if yayasan is registered as a company, okay, if yayasan is a registered of a company, of course they need to follow the Companies Act, correct? Is that correct?
Yes, true.
Okay, so if you follow the Companies Act, there are only two possible accounting standard which you can use, which is MFRS or MPERS. But what we have found out that the nature of State Islamic Religious Council does not fit with that. Okay, does not fit with that. So, because the nature of zakat, wakaf is not profit oriented at all. Okay, at all. So that's why Jabatan Accountant Negara have conduct this 4-year studies actually to develop specific accounting standard for State Islamic Religious Council. That is basically the dilemma. Okay, because if you follow the Companies Act, only two acceptable accounting guidelines which you can use is either MFRS or MPERS. Okay, if you just refer to MFRS and MPERS, would you be able to have a clear guideline how you prepare financial statement related to your zakat activities? I don't think so, because they will not discuss at all with regard to the issue of zakat or wakaf. So that's why we says, for example, one issue which have required us a lot of time to develop accounting standard is about how to record istibdal of wakaf asset. You will not find in any of the accounting standard discussing about accounting treatment for istibdal transaction. So that's why Jabatan Accountant Negara have come with this initiative. Okay, it's not easy, but it might be more suited to the nature of their activities. I think that might be my answer lah, because even Jabatan Accountant Negara have at once suggest State Islamic Religious Council to use MPERS, but after few years they found out that that is also not suitable for the State Islamic Religious Council to use MPERS. It's a challenge. Okay, it's a challenge because one other issue when you look into your slide from the books, um, State Islamic Religious Council might have a subsidiary which is incorporated under the Companies Act. Okay, under the Companies Act. So if they have a subsidiary incorporated under the Companies Act, how would they prepare a console accounts? Okay, State Islamic Religious Council itself using one set of standard, their subsidiary using another set of the standard. How would you use a consolidation? If I want to discuss that, that is another long issue. Okay, a long issue which we have discussed. Okay, because that's why we need to bring in another theory in accounting which is called fund accounting. I'm not sure if you have taken public sector accounting, you should have learned about fund accounting, which is totally a different perspective on how financial statement will be prepared. I think that will be my response. I'm not sure who are asking me. Is that sufficient?
Okay, thank you, sir.
And one more might be to give you a further idea in fund accounting. For example, if State Islamic Religious Council have 3 funds, Zakat, Wakaf, and Baitul Mal. Each fund have their own complete set of a financial statement. So that's why you will find in fund accounting, they would suggest what we call columnar reporting. That means you have each column for each fund. That means Zakat fund will have its own column in the preparation of financial statement. Wakaf fund have their own column. Baitul Mal fund will also have their own column. This is more consistent if you look into the history of Islam in the earlier, we call the concept of Diwan. Okay, that means each fund have a specific objective which cannot be mixed. Okay, that means if Wakaf fund borrow from Zakat fund, you need to create receivable and payable in the respective fund columns. This is what we call columnar reporting. If in Malay we says pelapuran berlaju. So it's a totally different perspective in the preparation of the financial statement. I hope that will give you some idea at the moment. Okay? Is that okay, brother? Any other questions? I hope it's okay, eh? So that is all. Let me just stop this. How do I stop? Um, how do I stop this? Allahu Akbar. Uh, how do I stop my presentation? Allah.
So you already stopped presenting, I guess.
I already started the presentation.
Yeah.
So how do I go back to how do I go back and see you again?
You
Allah. I need to go back to. I already up. I'm out.
No, sir, no,
Uh,
sir. You have to turn. I think you have to.
I leave the meeting or what?
No, sir. You stay here.
Huh? Oh ni ya? Ni ya? Ah betul. Sorry ya. Tak pandai betul pasal online ni. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Any other issues? Hope is clear. Eh? Hope is clear. Of course, if you want to understand further, I will be happy if you want to discuss. Okay, because we have been doing this for 4 years. But of course, you might not need to know very detailed. With some understanding, I hope you will be able to know to understand what is among the current issue for the non-profit organization. Okay. The last issue is about emerging issue in Islamic financial institutions. Okay. So again, I will not be referring to the slide from the book. I think I already see from the chat, some of you says, I'm not sharing the slide. You have the slide. You can refer to the slide. I will just try to summarize it. What is the issue? Okay. What is the issue with regard to Islamic financial institution? I think if I want to sum up the issue of Islamic financial institution in Malaysia in the preparation of their financial statement, so I will be referring to Islamic banks, particularly in Malaysia. Okay, in Malaysia, I think you also have take accounting for Islamic bank, correct? Have you taken course on Islam accounting for Islamic institution?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it should have also been highlighted by the lecturers in this course. The dilemma with regards to Malaysian environment is we are using 100% MFRS. Okay, we are using 100% MFRS. Yes, we have additional guideline from Bank Negara Malaysia, for example. Actually, before Malaysian Accounting Standard Board also would like to provide further guideline, but I think it's just not really successful because at the end, most of our guideline on Islamic banking just become a technical release. Okay, technical releases by MASB, and the guideline also very short, except Bank Negara may also provide an additional guideline. This is only my personal view. Okay, this is only my personal view. We understand that we have IOFI. Okay, I'm not saying that IOFI is also very good. Okay, but we know that they have done quite extensively. Okay, in trying to provide a guideline for Islamic banking operation. That's why I think at IUM, most of our lecturers always referring to IUFI. Okay, always referring to IUFI. What is good with regard to IUFI is they are not only focusing on the accounting standard, they also discuss Sharia issue. So that's why they also, before they come up with accounting standard, they discuss first the Sharia standard related to the transaction. I think that is good. Okay, that is good. They discuss first the Sharia standard, and then they will discuss about the accounting guidelines or accounting regulation. Okay, so I think why not? I think if I was informed by Prof. Malia, for example, there will be more collaboration, for example, between ISB and also IOFI, which I think will be good for the benefit of Islamic financial institution. Okay, so if I would like to refer to my additional slide, okay, my additional slide which I have basically uploaded just before the class just now. Okay, let me see whether I can share that. Not this one. This one. Okay, this one. I think you might have also discussed. Okay, one issue which is always controversial and debatable is on leasing. Okay, is on leasing. And the discussions still continue even until today because you have new conventional accounting standard MFRS 16 on lease, and IOFI also have revised theirs. Previously it's FAST 8, now you have FAST 32 on Ijara. Okay, on Ijara. So I think the concept itself is basically different. When MFRS 16 called lease, okay, the understanding of lease here is try to go toward financing. Okay, it's a financing contracts. Okay, it is a financing contracts. But when IUFI focus on Ijara, if you want to translate in Malay, is what? Or in English? When you talk about Ijara, what is Ijara? What is Ijara? I think all of you might have taken Accounting for Islamic Bank. Ijara is what?
Islamic lease.
Islamic what? Cannot hear you.
Lease. Lease.
Islamic lease. Islamic lease. That's what you say? Huh? You will confuse me further when you says Islamic lease. You will confuse me further. That's why in our discussion among the groups, okay, in developing standard, you can't change the word ijara. No English word, because lease, okay, lease is not a proper translation of ijara. You need to keep using the word ijara. Okay, because if you look into our source of references, ijara is broad. Okay, it's a very broad concept. Okay, ijara is actually, if in Malay we say sewa or rent, and some scholars, some Muslim scholars says that when you pay salary for a worker, is also under the concept of ijara, because you are renting their expertise. Yeah, their expertise. So ijara is a big word actually. When you look into leasing and you look into the practice of Islamic banking in the current situation, it is a financing tool. Okay, for example, if you want to own an asset, you can own an asset through an ijara contracts. Okay, through an ijara contract. But in ijara under IOFI, it is not a financing tool. It is renting. Okay, renting. It only become a financing tool if you end the ijara with transfer of ownership. So that's why you have what you call ijara muntahiyah bitamlik. Okay, so it's two separate contracts. The first contract is renting. Then if you want to own, then you will have the transfer either through sale or through some other method which you have learned, either through sale or gift or whatsoever. Okay, so the concept itself is already different. So that's why it is until today is a controversial issue, because in conventional accounting you have this one principle called substance over form. Okay, what is more important is you look into what is the economic substance, and the economic substance is more important rather than the legal form. This is really contradict to Sharia, because to AAOIFI, okay, both are important, and if there is a conflict, the form is more important, because the form will ensure that the contract comply with the Sharia rules and regulations. So here, leasing is really a problem. Okay, leasing is really a problem. This is just one issue. I'm also not an expert in Islamic banking operation, but this is something which I can at least understand. But I know there are many other issues. For example, how would you, there is one issue, and today I also have problem to understand issuance of sukuk, because when you issue a sukuk under Sharia, you must have an underlying asset. How do you show that underlying asset in the financial statement of the sukuk issuer? So that is one. Okay. Asset can be tangible. Asset can also be intangible. Can sukuk be issued on the relying intangible asset? That one you should ask the scholar. So there are many issues. Okay. For conventional, sukuk is just like a debt. Sukuk is just like a debt. So just recognize it as a debt. Okay. As a debt. So what is the difference? The same with regard to here. If you talk about those who don't really understand about the structure of Islamic banking, so what is the difference between the Sharia financing and the conventional financing? Both are basically financing, no different. But to us, the contract itself make a difference, okay, between the conventional and the Sharia perspective. That's why legal form is basically important. So I just basically highlighted a few issues based on the MFRS 16 and FAST 32. Okay, so if you look into the definition, okay, not much different, but something which I want to basically highlight it is, that's why I says FAST 32 IFE focus is on renting. Okay, they are only talking about the transfer of the usufruct, not control. Okay, but of course, when you focus more on financing and financing a purchase of an asset, so you are talking about the use of the word control. Okay, so that might be one slight differences in the definition of a lease in MFRS 16 and definition of ijara in FAST 32. Okay, so of course, okay, recognition with regards to lease based on the new revised standard. Okay, lessee should recognize what we call right of use asset and a lease liability. I think both standards says the same. Okay, but what is a problem is basically when you look about measurement of a liability. Okay, measurement, there are also differences in the measurement of the asset. Okay, but the main issue is when you look into how do you measure ijarah liability. In the conventional, they will use present value, because interest is the main issue lah. This is where people will start to debate. Okay, because time value of money, time value of money. So the lease payment will be done in the future. So when you want to estimate the lease liability, you need to use the concept of present value of future lease payment. Okay, but for FAST 32, they are not using discounted present value. So they just, if you look if you look here, this is where initial recognition. In terms of discussion of the cost of the right of use asset, almost similar. Okay, almost similar. The only problem is when you want to measure right of use asset under conventional, you will basically link it toward how do you measure a lease liability. So you look into the sentence which I have bold, make it bold. So that is the problem. When you relate it to the lease liability and you look how lease liability is measured, it's totally different. Between MFRS 16, you need to use present value of lease payment, future lease payment, but for FAS 32, you only total up, okay, total future lease payment. You only sum the total future lease payment without involving a discounting approach using an interest rate. Okay, so that is another problem. Okay, this is just how you measure the prime cost, because in IOFI, this is when you measure right of use asset, you need to use prime cost. But in MFRS 16, this is when you measure the cost of right of use asset, you need to refer to the amount of the lease liability. So that is another issue. Subsequent measurement, I think not much problem, because you says after you measure a cost, then you need to use a cost model for subsequent measurement, which is subjected to accumulated amortization or depreciation, and accumulated, if there is any impairment loss, you also need to deduct impairment loss, and if there is any modification to the lease term, and then you also need to make a modification to the right of use, to the value of the right of use asset. Okay, so I think the main issue is about the measurement of a liability, and the concept itself is basically different, and the use of substance of a form might be a bit criticized, okay, by IOFI, okay, because to IOFI, both substance of a form and the legal form is basically important. Okay, so in terms of classification of leases, the last one, of course, this is again the problem. Okay, because in MFRS 16, you need to basically classify leases into two, either operating lease or capital lease, or what we call finance lease. The finance lease is basically the problems. Okay, the operating lease should not be a problem, because in operating lease, lessor will always recognize the underlying asset. When it becomes a finance lease, then you will see this as a financing requirement, so you will not record the underlying assets. Okay, but FAS 32 is very clear. Okay, you need to classify either it is an operating lease, or I don't want to use the word lease lah. Either it is an operating ijarah or ijarah which will be end by the transfer of the asset to the lessee, or what we call ijarah muntahiyah bitamlik. This is an illustration of the problem or issue or challenge for Islamic banking, because for Islamic financial institution, the most important issue or principle is ensuring compliance to the Sharia rules and regulation, or to the Sharia principle. That is the most important. And when they talk about Sharia principle, it will always refer to the legal form. So you cannot have always an assumption what is the economic substance, and economic substance is much more important rather than the legal form, because Sharia is the most important for the operation of any Islamic financial institution. Whatever it is, you must basically ensure compliance to the Sharia rulings and Sharia principles. I think that is what I can basically add. It is a last minute kind of a slide, but I hope it will be more clearer when I use this illustration and specific to an issue in order to illustrate about the recent development in financial accounting and reporting. First, in non-profit organization. Second is in Islamic financial institution, particularly Islamic bank. I will just focus to Islamic bank because you have many other Islamic financial institutions like takaful operators and so on. Okay, so I think that is what I can share with you, and that will basically be our discussion on emerging issues in financial accounting and reporting. So we have focused on three issues: non-profit organization, sustainability reporting, and also issues related to IFI. Okay, so maybe in you still have like 5-10 minutes if you have any questions. Any question or any comment you want to share with me? Anything? Let me just see the chat. The chat. Okay. No further question here. I think I have addressed the issue which you raised in the chat. Any other concern or question? Can you understand the discussion today? Can you understand the discussion today? Any problems?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sisters, okay, no problem.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
I'm really concerned when we have many students in the online, so I'm not sure. I hope you can understand. If you don't understand, please raise. Okay, please raise a question. I really hope that you can understand because this is very important. But particularly for your final exam later. Okay. So if there is no question, next topics on interim. I will just leave it to you. It's a very short topic. I will share the slide from the book on interim, nothing much. Interim is just like half-yearly report or quarterly reporting. I think the issue of interim is just about timely information. Okay. So if you look into a conceptual framework discussion, I'm not sure that Dr. Fatima have basically raised it. One of the issue in order to ensure quality reporting is information is available timely. Okay, information is available timely to the stakeholders. So if you just rely to annual report, okay, that is only yearly. So of course, in between, okay, 1 year to another year, you need some other information. That's why companies are now required to basically prepare financial statement more frequently. For example, either semi-annually or half-yearly. I think that is the only thing which you need to understand. But of course, in preparing interim report, okay, you might have some issue. For example, period of comparison and so on. I think that is just a small issue. Okay, a small issue. But the main issue is a provision of accounting information on a timely basis for company. So that one, I think I will just leave it to you. I will upload the slide on interim report so you can read any question you can ask. Because next week I will start on the two important topics. I will start first on revenue recognition, okay, based on MFRS 17, okay, on revenue recognition. This is one new standard, and there are a few issues which I would like to discuss with you. So I'm allocating 2 weeks for revenue recognition. Then the other big standard, and of course a lot of debate and discussion by scholars, practitioners, and so on, is basically on employees benefit, MFRS 119. But the main controversial issue is basically on post-employment benefit. Okay, post-employment benefit. So of course we will start off by discussing the main the principle first with regard to employees benefit. Then we will focus on post-employment benefit. I will allocate again another 2 weeks for this standard on employees benefit. particularly the discussion on post-employment benefit. So then that will be 2 weeks on revenue recognition, 2 weeks with regard to employees benefit. Then we will have another 1 week for revision for your final exams. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. 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 So the next two topics is basically the most important. Okay. The most important topic for your final exams. Okay. I'm not sure. Maybe if you don't have question now, I think I will just would like to stop my discussion today. But of course, you can always ask me later with regard to the previous discussion. Maybe if you don't have question now, you can ask me later about the topic which we have discussed. So you will find out that in the final exam, question on emerging issues might be more of a discussion question. In the final exam, question with regard to revenue recognition and employees benefit is more toward calculation and providing journal entries, discussing about possible accounting treatment. Okay, so on emerging issue is more on discussion type questions. Okay, so I think I have talked a lot today. If there is no question, thank you very much for all of you. So inshallah we'll meet again on Monday, where next week where we will start discussing on revenue recognitions. So thank you very much to all of you. So I think now I would like to stop. I end my discussion by Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.